Coming up on the Making Waves VO podcast.
Here's the bottom line. Marketing is about being seen and being heard. And if you're not being seen and you're not being heard, you're not making money. It's literally that simple.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves. Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves. Making waves.
This is the Making Waves VO podcast with Kevin Kilpatrick and Bobby Maxwell.
It is indeed the Making Waves VO podcast presented by Full Compass, fullcompass.com.
We know VO.
Bobby, it's the cooler weather is starting to settle in here in the fall, and the VO work has been solid. It's been steady. It's been okay. It can always be better, though. How was your week, or how's your week been?
You know, it's busy, but I'm expecting it to be a couple of big months as we get towards the end of the year. What about you?
Yeah, I know in the automotive space, there will be a lot of Black Friday events that will go on. So those are going to be happening. And then, end of the year sales for car stuff. I'm hoping one of my big e-learning clients will come around and go, oh, we need to get some stuff produced by the end of the year. That's always good. And, maybe some holiday marketing stuff coming around. But, it could always be more busy. Could always, which is one of the reasons why we've got a great guest that's going to join us. We're going to talk a little bit about marketing today on the Making Waves VO podcast. And
I hate that word.
I know we all do, and hopefully we're going to become a little bit more desensitized, and we're going to get over it, and it's not going to be such a bad word anymore after we have our guest on. He's a talented voice actor who fully comprehends the business side of things because he's been in the business world for decades. He's also the founder of Legit Voices digital marketing services for pro-level voice actors. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, Jonathon Grant. Hey, Jonathon.
Hey, hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Hey, Jonathon.
Welcome to the podcast. So, Bobby knows Jonathon Grant, and Bobby said, hey, can we have this guy on and talk about marketing? I'm like, yeah, let's go. So, Bobby, what's your incarnation or your origin story with Jonathon?
Well, to be quite honest, I heard him on another podcast.
Spit
Hey,
take.
we're all friends, you know?
No, of course we are, yeah.
Yeah, and I was intrigued. I was intrigued by his background and the fact that he is a voiceover talent. And my husband writes code. So I was like, well, this is very interesting because there's a lot of marketing gurus out there. But when you put somebody who knows all three of those things together, I think there's something to this. And I had a chat with Jonathon and ended up going with one of his programs.
Excellent. So let's unpack that a little bit. Jonathon, welcome to the podcast again, and talk about your story getting into voiceover because it's pretty recent, right? And prior to that, business guy, you're still a business guy, of course, but prior to that, you had decades in the business world. And how has that helped you find success in voiceover over these last several years?
Wow, that's a loaded question, and a great big one. So let's start at the top of that question.
Yeah.
So my background is in business. I've been a senior executive and vice president for private equity companies, publicly traded companies. My last job working for others, I was a vice president for a publicly traded property management company, and I managed assets in 11 cities spread across 3 states in the upper Midwest. And I had a difficult time staffing a very large portfolio. So I went and got a book on building websites and created a job site, initially just to staff my own portfolio. And it took off. And I ended up walking away from a big 6-figure job 26 years ago next month to start a job site. And I've been building platforms over the years that connect people to opportunity. And that's kind of the through line. And along came the pandemic, And, obviously everybody thought, wow, I've got a good voice. I'll go be a voice actor. So everybody jumped on that. Well, secretly, I always wanted to be a voice actor. And, you'd be driving down the freeway and see some guy over there carrying on in his car. And you think he's singing, but I was actually imitating all of the imaging on the radio.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I've always wanted to get into voiceover. The pandemic came along and everything was quiet. All my sites were quiet. So I pushed all my responsibilities off to somebody, that I could trust and decided to go into it and really get some coaching, build out my booth and put myself out there and begin doing voiceover.
So did someone just tell you that you have a great voice and you said, oh?
Yeah, actually, it's funny because I have heard that quite a bit. Because I've done public speaking and I used to teach financial management classes to my staff. So a lot of speaking in front of people, but never really thought, I wish I was that guy. I always had a passion for it, and it was more just a hobby and having fun. The family won't even watch anything with me because I have to make a trailer out of everything. So, yeah, the short answer, yep, I've heard that quite a bit.
Okay. Just curious.
That's crazy. So as you got into this world, and of course you're attacking this and approaching this with a business mindset where most people that come into the voiceover world are performance-based. But I fully feel like that you came into it strategically and with that business mindset. Do you think that helped you get footing immediately?
Yeah, absolutely. So coming from the business world, we typically would have, any business has components to it. So it could be marketing, accounting, finance, maintenance, landscape architecture, architectural design, building, all these different components, they have to be in harmony. So when you come into something creative like this is my first venture into anything creative, I had to make sure that I was market ready. And I think being market ready is you're the product, right? So are you ready? Are you trained up? Do you have the skills? Have you taken the time to get the training? And then how are you presenting yourself? It's great that you might have a good sounding demo, but can you deliver the goods in a session? And then how do you look and how do you sound? So being market ready is the first, I think, lesson from being the business owner, right? Mm-hmm. And many times people that I've encountered in voiceover so far, it's the first time in their lives that they've actually been the master of their destiny. They're the boss, and they're also the tech person, and they're also the website builder, updater. They're the cook, they're the cleaner, they're the plumber. You're responsible for everything. The billing, you have to bill those people that you're doing work for. And it's the first time that they encounter this, and most of them don't know where to start. And coming from the business background, it made it a lot easier for me to say, here's what I want to accomplish. And these are the steps that I need to take to do that correctly, and just started walking through it and working the problem.
Well, it's interesting because marketing is so important, but there's some of us who not only don't care to market, but we just don't have the time. And that's one of the things when I came aboard on your program, it's like, okay, you were mentioning that, you have to get some templates for your emails. And I was like, when do I have time? So I not only don't have time to market, I don't have time to market the marketing. You know what I mean? It's terrible.
And interestingly enough, people exist in all stages of that posture that you're in right now, where you're so busy that you don't have time to continue promoting yourself. And it could be a mix, and it usually is a mix of life happening, kids, grandkids, what have you, spouses, day jobs many times, or you're doing well enough in VO, that you need to keep your marketing going, but you just don't have the time to do that either.
Right.
And that's part of why I designed a couple of systems to help folks. We have two systems. One is if you have more time than money, and the other one is if you have enough money to support an ongoing marketing campaign that's fully managed for you.
Don't go anywhere. The Making Waves VO podcast returns in a moment.
This is Heather Bell, voice actor, and I can tell you've made an awesome choice listening to the Making Waves VO podcast with Kevin Kilpatrick and Bobby Maxwell. I know you're gonna enjoy it.
Oh, Bobby, I remember getting into voiceover, and one of the most exciting parts about getting into voiceover is buying all the gear. You don't realize that until you become a voice actor and you got to produce your own stuff. And you go, ooh, this part should be fun. But then you go, I have not a clue on what I'm supposed to buy.
Exactly.
That's why you trust your good friends at Full Compass, fullcompass.com. They know VO there, and you're going to have a great selection of pro audio gear, and you're going to get a lot of good help. And there's a lot of good attributes that go along with buying from Full Compass.
Yeah, so if you're not really sure when you got the piece of equipment and you have questions about it, they have a free 2-year service or repair plan. They have free shipping on orders over $49. I love that. I think my favorite thing is the low price guarantee, because you just never know. You said a second ago that you're getting into this and you don't know what you need, but how about, do you know if you're paying the right price for it? So you don't have to worry about that when you shop at fullcompass.com. They'll guarantee to match the price on the products they sell for new, identical, and immediately available products offered at a lower price.
They have flexible financing, Bobby, and they also have free expert assistance, and that's why we say we know VO at Full Compass.
Everything from microphones to interfaces to headphones to mic booms, they've got it.
If you have any questions and you're more old school and you want to call them on the phone, you can call Full Compass at 800-356-5844. Full Compass and fullcompass.com.
We know VO.
Making Waves returns. Jonathan, Bobby a little bit ago mentioned marketing, and she was like, it's a bad word, right? Two-part question for you right here. How do you feel? What is the immediate reaction when you hear the term marketing as it relates to voiceover? And how can VO talent overcome that stigma? How can we get fired up about marketing?
Okay, so the two-part question. The first part is, what's my immediate reaction to marketing? It's money.
Yay!
Okay, so it's
Cha-ching.
Plain and simple.
It's literally that simple. The only reason that you're marketing, so here's the bottom line. Marketing is about being seen and being heard. And if you're not being seen and you're not being heard, you're not making money.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally that simple. And the second part of the question is, how do you get past that stigma? I kind of have a more harsh commentary on that.
Bring it.
And I'm going to share it. There's a lot of people out there. Do you remember back in the 80s and early 90s, everybody was talking about paradigms and paradigm shift and all these different buzzwords. Well, today it seems everybody's talking about mindsets, and get your mind around this. Mm-hmm. If you don't market your business will fail. Period. I've launched several nationwide businesses, all profitable. They've all done well, and I've had to market every single one of them.
Okay.
Because if you're not putting yourself out there, if you're not hanging your shingle out there, if you're too shy to do that, are you too shy behind the mic? It's not something. Ooh. It's not something that you try. It's something that you do. You must market yourself and your business. You are the product. Is your product ready for market? You've had your training. You've had all. I've talked to people, as a matter of fact. They have amazing demos, pro quality demos, and you talk to them. They're very personable, and they can deliver the goods time after time after time through platforms and what have you. But they're too shy to reach out to strangers and market themselves. So you're market ready. You've got the goods. Your product's ready for market, but you're not telling anyone. You're relying on an agent who can't feed you. I mean, that's just the truth, or pay-to-plays who change every week.
Yeah.
Wow. So if I am shy, or if I'm, I don't know, if I just don't feel comfortable doing it, that's why the pay-to-plays do so well, because let's face it, they'll take anybody, right? And or with agents, only so many people can get them. So if we're really wanting to market ourselves, it's programs like yours that, yeah, we have to pay some money, but you're doing the work for us. Tell us about what your two companies are and what the difference is between them.
Okay, well, what we'll do is I'll give you a little, where it came from. So being brand new to voiceover, I kind of maxed out where I could go on my own on the platforms, and I'm not agent represented. So the issue that I was encountering, especially with the pay-to-plays, is that there's a lot of people there that shouldn't be there.
Oh, yeah.
They don't belong in voiceover at all, and nobody has told them, no, you don't belong here. You don't have it, and frankly, I don't know, missing all those teeth, you probably never have it. But, or whatever reason, insert reason here. And that's not to be mean, it's to be honest and be helpful, to folks. So anyhow, I'm competing. I have to rise above all of that noise, with my auditions just to get noticed. But then once I get above all that noise, I encounter you guys. I'm never going to overcome that, I don't think. So I decided I needed to start marketing myself. And I looked at a couple of programs that are out there and available, and it was gross. I was looking at CRMs and list providers, and it wasn't what I needed. So being a developer, I wrote some bots and some crawlers to go out and find data for me, find the contacts for me, and set that to work, and then started building my own tool to track that. And I happen to own the servers. I own 9 mail servers. And I started sending out my own mail that way manually. And along came some company, and I'm not going to name them. I want to talk about the solution, but they were kind of ripping off voice talent. And I decided that we're not going to have that. So I took my tool, which is called voleads.com, and I built that into a platform that's a multi-tenant platform so that more people could use it. And it's a list provider, but they're curated leads. So you can come to VO Leads. It's credit based, so you buy credits. Everybody gets 10 for free when you come in the door, and then you search through the leads and you pick and unlock only the ones that you want. So 1 lead equals 1 credit, or 1 credit equals 1 lead. So you go through and you find the leads that you want. We let you click through to their website. We let you see all their information, and then what you're unlocking is the contact person and email address. At that point. But so there's no secret there. You can click through and look at their website, see if there's evidence that they're hiring voice talent, and then say, yep, I definitely want that one, and go unlock it. So that's the first iteration. And it's interesting. It's going pretty well. But what's funny is that the pro level talent who either don't have the time or they just hate it, they just hate marketing. They were literally begging me, hey, can you send this stuff? Hey, do you have a mailing program? Hey, can you send my initial contact? Hey, can you do my follow-ups? And I didn't want to do it, but they kept bugging me, so I did. so I ended up building voinbox.com. And I'll keep rambling if you don't jump in here.
Well, I'm going to jump in here, and if without giving away too much, or if it's proprietary and you don't want to answer this, that's fine too. But how do you find those leads? How do you curate those leads? Are you just doing legwork, groundwork? AI play into this at all?
No AI whatsoever. So, I use the exact same approach that Google uses to go out and find data. And I know it sucks because it's what we do. We have to go out and search and find all of these. I've got bots and crawlers that run out and search for the data. And then we validate. In fact, right now we're double validating all the deliverability of the emails. And then a human being has to go and visit every single website to ensure that there's evidence of hiring voice talent, or that they integrate voice talent into their product. So it's not a magic bullet. It's just that I've designed a system that does exactly what you do at scale, at a massive scale. And I hope that answers your question.
It does, in a way. It's just, you're doing everything that we would be doing anyway, except when we come to you, you've already done that big part of it. And, could you unpack, because I have an idea of what you mean when you say at scale. Can you explain a little bit more? What do you mean by at scale?
Okay, so scale it's pretty basic. So an individual, what you are doing is you're sitting down at your desk and you're searching for a lead, and you may go to Google or your favorite search engine and say, I'm looking for production houses in Los Angeles, for example, video production houses. There's a good search term. So I'm looking for video production houses. You go and find that video production house, and then all of a sudden you have their website, you have all their business social media, and you have their contact us form. You don't have a person. So now that you see that, these guys obviously use voiceover, hey, they have a business LinkedIn profile. So you go and you click that and you look them up on LinkedIn, and then you start doing a people search on that company, and here's a casting director or whatever. And you start finding people, and you're trying to find an email address, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a really hard way to find an email address. You know,
Yes, it sure is.
you're going to find a contact us, and that's really usually it. There are people that use like email address permutators that'll guess, at email addresses, and that's a horrible way to do it. But think about everything I just described. That's for one lead, one. Okay. And then there are two schools of thought for outreach, and this I'm answering your scale question with the bigger part of the scale. Yeah. So then you're going to write an email to that person. Let's say you magically found an email address for that person. Now you're going to sit down and look at their website and you'll be like, man, you guys did a great job on that last Chevy ad, or you might even get creepy, which some people have. They're like, you know what? I saw your Facebook page and I like long walks on the beach and picking flowers and petting kittens too. Yeah.
I saw your kid's ball game the other day.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So, and everything in between, right? So, so because you really want to personalize that email. Right. And so, everything that I just described, and it took almost 3 minutes just to describe all the steps for one lead. One, how much time do you have in a week to source 25, 30? Oof. You go to a list provider. Now, we did a time and motion study against Apollo IO rather. And holy cow, it took two of us 3 hours to find what we assumed were 300 good leads over there. And those 300 good leads, 54% of them had non-business email addresses. So Gmail, Yahoo, there's even an AOL in there.
Nice.
So of the remaining 45% of the leads, 80% of those bounced when we emailed them. Mm. So and that took two people 3 hours. So that was six hours of work in a list provider. Trying to whittle down a good list of people. So that's one way that's one end of the scale. Now imagine you can come to, let's say you went to VO Leads, for example, and you had 100 credits. You don't have time to dig through them. You just give me 100 leads. Okay, click. And it'll prefer the newest leads for you. So the newest things in the system come up first. And we'll unlock and give you 100 leads, and you can take those off to your own CRM, or you can one-off email them and just use our system. There's a bunch of business tools in there that we could talk about some other time. But that's scale. You have 100 fresh leads right now. And, the fact that we've already done the search, that we've already kind of peeled the onion near the core, they're likely VO buyers in the entire database. Now, it doesn't mean that they're all good leads. Nobody's list is perfect.
Right.
But we've gotten as close as we can, without actually calling all of them and just double checking. Hey,
Hi, this is Kate Neeland, voiceover actor, the one with the microphone. And you are listening to the Making Waves VO podcast with Kevin and Bobby, you lucky, lucky sausage. I love them. I love them so much. Enjoy.
I'm curious, and maybe this is a silly question, but do you yourself or your team contact these leads before, sharing them with us or letting VO Inbox do it? Do you contact them? I mean, are they going, oh, that Jonathon Grant, he's got, 50 people reaching out to us? Or do you just do it like anybody else and say, hey, here's the information, go for it?
Yeah, they're probably pretty mad at me. No, here's the thing. So there hasn't been a huge uptake on VO Leads, and I think part of it is because folks are lazy and they don't want to do the marketing part.
Yeah.
The reality is, like the VO Inbox, which we haven't discussed yet, that's the full service site. We're only going to have 100 seats. So we're not flooding the field.
Okay.
With all of this email. So we've capped it, and we just crossed the 33%. So we're a third of the way there.
Oh, wow.
Or darn near.
Let's talk.
Go ahead, Kevin.
No, I was coming up with a different question if you wanted to continue to unpack that for a second.
No, that's good. Well, I do. Let me just say one more thing about that. That question comes up a lot. And the reality is that there are a lot of people teaching direct email marketing and how to source leads and pushing their favorite CRMs and their training programs and all that. And they'll teach that to anyone. So they're not targeting pro-level talent. So what's happening is these production houses, they're already getting flooded.
Yeah.
And I have seen it show up because I obviously I monitor all the campaigns 24/7, and I have a roll up, of how they're performing. And I can see the reply rate has gone down, but the click-through rate to websites listening to your demos has gone up.
Nice.
And I think that logic kind of dictates that they can't answer all that email. They can't. It's impossible. In fact, I just got a job yesterday, as a matter of fact, from a company in Denver that I had emailed last November. And
Oh, wow.
that campaign just finished because this particular campaign that I'm running for myself, my personal campaign, does 5 touches over 12 months, 5 emails. And she actually called my cell phone. She didn't even email me. She just called my cell phone and had me do a read for a job. So it was great, to hear back. But the reality is I never heard from her. She didn't reply and say, "Hey, you sound amazing. We added you to our roster." The first thing she said is, "Hi, I'm Becky Sue with XYZ Company, and we have a job that you might be a perfect fit for."
Wow.
So I'm like, "Oh, okay." So meanwhile, I'm like looking up who's Becky Sue with XYZ.
And how do I know her? How did I reach out to her first? Oh, you got to track that down.
Sure.
But what I was going to ask a minute ago is like we're talking about all this, and this is such a great technology to have and such a valuable service that you're providing. But what, in the bigger picture, in the technology place that we're in the voiceover world, what technologies do you think voice actors are not taking advantage of in terms of marketing?
I think, so I would have to separate who we're serving because we're only serving pro-level folks. And it's what the pro-level people have already taken advantage of this.
Mm-hmm.
But not all of them, and the ones, not all that have done it well. It's having a solid web presence, having a solid website. And you can, if you have decent SEO, and I'm not suggesting you go spend $1 million, go find a YouTube video on how to get good SEO on your website. But anyhow, it's a good web presence with the first thing that folks encounter on your website are your demos. Don't make people dig for your work.
Mm-hmm.
And post on social media, be active, post your wins on LinkedIn. People want to celebrate with you, and those, you're not bragging. That's marketing. If you have a win and you have permission to use the company name and maybe even the work sometimes, absolutely do it. And because what's happening is production houses don't think for a minute that they're not in the voiceover Facebook groups. Don't think for a minute that they are not looking at your website. Especially if it's a national brand or international brand, global brand, don't think for a minute they're not checking you out, before hiring you, because they're going to put your voice on their brand. That's important. What do you look like and what do you sound like? And are you using social media to keep a constant presence out there? And I would say that's the number one.
I love that.
Do you think that it's a negative or a positive to have your agents listed on your website? Do you think that's a turnoff to a production house? They'd go, "Oh, we don't really want a middleman," or do you think it's beneficial?
I don't know. There's a couple things, and that's one part of a broader issue. So when for instance, if Kevin, if you put on that you're in your marketing that you're an Emmy Award-winning super space age samurai, you're going to look,
which I am.
Right. So, but it may be true, but you're going to look very expensive.
Yeah.
And you'll scare folks off. And when they see that your agent represented, especially if you have 2 or 3, and they're like, "Oh, am I going to have to deal with the agent now if I go deal with this person?" And there is some perception. There's no right or wrong to that. It's about how much you're putting out there. If you have a couple of your great jobs that you've done in your high quality demos, and I'm with this agent on the East Coast and this agent on the West Coast, that's plenty. But if you start piling on all your awards and Sovas and your Emmys and Grammys and whatever else you've won, and blue ribbons and what have you, you start to look like you might be out of reach for these people. And I've actually seen that a lot. I had a guy from Texas call me, as a matter of fact. He was looking at my website. He's listening to my demos. And he was like, well, we'll save you for our good stuff.
No, I want it all. I'll take the bad stuff.
Well, he told me that. He's like, well, I wanted to hear your voice because I wanted to make sure that it matched your demos. You know, that was interesting that he said that. But then he said, you know, he's worried that I wouldn't want to do a 3-chain furniture store, you know, or a local radio spot. And I said, well, of course I would do that work. This is what I do.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to be careful, you know, that you're willing to put yourself out there. So I personally, I adhere to GVAA rates. And if I meet somebody for the first time and they're hemming and hawing on a rate, I ask them straight up, hey, what's your client's budget? So I let them off the hook, right? I'm like, what's your client's budget for the voiceover part of this job? And then they tell me, and I'm like, well, here's my rates. I stick with this rate card here. But you know what? We just met. I want you to be a superstar for your client, so I can meet that this time.
Nice.
You know, but we need to work toward this rate. You know, all of that, everything that I just said there, that's marketing, and that's overcoming objections, right? And so that's part of marketing. So if there are people who have an objection to you having agents listed, you know, how do you overcome that? If you start kind of finding strategies, you know, and if you're an award-winning voice talent, put that on your website. Don't put that in your email, because all you're trying to do with your marketing, your cold marketing, is just get a handshake. You're just trying to get introduced, right? You're not trying to book a job. You're trying to make a friend.
Mm-hmm. We talked about VO leads. Can we talk about VO inbox? And you say it's mostly for pro talent, and you mentioned that, you know, even if you make a contact, they may, like Becky Sue, may not reach out to you, but she'll remember you, you know, 5 months down the road or 2 months down the road. But on average, what would you say is a percentage of direct contacts and clicks that you're going to get? Or is there an average? Does it depend on the talent? You know,
Have you looked at your campaign yet? Have you logged in?
I did. That's why I'm curious.
So what you're seeing in your own campaign there is a high prevalence of click-throughs.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's real. That's people. That tells you this. The right person got your message, they opened it and read it, and they clicked through to your website. And so I host my demos on SoundCloud, which they give me analytics. So I can see the through line between my Google Analytics for my traffic, the click-throughs that I'm seeing on my campaign, and the listens in my demos.
Okay.
And they match. You know, so that's how I can tell, you know, that the right people are at least getting the and it makes me feel a lot better, because as I mentioned, you know, one of the I'll just say this real quick. One of the most important hallmarks of the services that we're providing is transparency. You know, there's no surprises, there's no gotchas, there's no long-term contracts. We don't hide anything. And if we see a fall off in direct replies, you know, it used to be if you were getting 1% to 2% direct reply to cold email, you're killing it.
Wow.
You are crushing it, you know. But if you're getting all these click-throughs to your website, but you're not getting a reply, you're crushing it. You know, the right people are getting it. They liked your message. They took the time to go to your website. That's important. Opens are not a real good, reliable metric, by the way.
Because I open stuff just to make it go away. I really do. Seriously. And it just like, okay, yeah, there's Southwest Airlines with another special, click and just clear it out of my box.
Yeah.
I probably should just delete it though, huh?
Yeah, just get rid of it. But just about everything that goes through the G Suite platform, which would be Gmail and Google Workspaces, the way that they scan for the spam filters are scanning, and then of course virus filters are scanning. And the way that they do that makes all those messages appear to have been opened. And that's why opens are not a reliable metric at all. So we track them, and people like to look at it, so we still track it, but it's not real reliable. So if you know the gold standard today, obviously the gold standard is a reply, but it's becoming more and more a click through, because I hired, in fact, the first 3 jobs that I had this year, back in January, were from emails that I had sent the prior February. Never heard from these people. Didn't know who any of them were. You know, so it's the most aggravating, frustrating type of marketing that you can do. but you don't want to be that person who's not reaching out. I'm out here doing all this marketing and Kevin's not. And when they need a voice, a male voice, they're going to call me.
Yeah, because you'll be out there.
It's a good thing to ask, do you have a roster or can I join your roster, right?
Sure. Yeah. That's not a problem at all. Yeah. In fact, Bobby, did I show you my template? Because I don't have any problem saying what my template is. It's super, super simple. So, hi, I'm a full-time voice talent. I do A, B, C, and D. Here's where you can hear it. I do brands and budgets, large and small. I hope you guys crush it this week. See ya. I'm out of there.
Nice.
I mean, that's it. Super short and sweet. In fact, it's not even, I think my whole email is like 18K. That's it. That's the whole size. I use a text signature. I don't have a fancy image in there or all my social media links. I put my Source Connect standard link in there because that looks cool and they know that I'm a pro.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. Simple stuff. And I'm sure I've gone afield of what the question was at this point.
No, well, you have answered it though, so thanks for doing that. And we, at the heart of everything, you are a voice actor, and we're going to get a voice acting nightmare session story from you, Jonathon Grant, in just a few minutes. But I did want to, kind of talk about a little bit more marketing, the leads, the inbox, the direct connections, like emails that are going to people. That is one form of marketing. The cold emails, they're curated though, obviously, in that whole side. What are a couple of other big marketing things that voice talent can do, even if it is just having social media presence? What are a couple of other really important marketing aspects that you would suggest for voice actors?
So critically important, even I think as important as finding new clients, is continually staying in front of your existing clients and prospects.
Yes. Bobby, I've talked about that for years.
It's a lot easier to keep a client than it is to get a client.
Yep. Yeah. 100%.
And that's easy to keep a client. You deliver what you promised and more earlier than you promised it. It's so simple, but then you want to stay in front of them, but you don't want to be a nuisance. So I personally send quarterly. I'll just send them, hey, just touching base, letting you know I'm still alive.
Yeah.
I'm here. I've got some time in my schedule if you have a job you need done. Simple, not overbearing. Not. Don't send them a newsletter. Don't write them, Gone with the Wind about how your summer went.
Yeah.
It's like just reach out, say hi, just touching base, let you know I'm around. That's it. I mean, obviously flower it up a little more than that. You think about this. You spent the time making a relationship with them. You've already booked work with them. You're like best friends. Reach out once in a while and say hi.
That's great. That's a great reminder. And what's another one?
I would say another one is, make some friends in voiceover and build your network intentionally, but sincerely. And what ends up happening is over time, I've had people refer work to me. I've referred people work, and that's another important thing. Be active in the community, but don't waste a lot of time on it, obsessing. That's another easy way to market yourself. It's easier to tell you things not to do.
You want to pepper some of those in there?
Sure. Yeah. You are your brand, and don't ever feel like you need to choose a side in any social, political, any issues like this. Mm-hmm. If you are putting yourself on social media to promote your business. I sell widgets, and I will sell widgets to anyone who will buy those widgets. And I will never give anyone a reason to not want my widgets because I was talking about something other than my widgets.
I'm always surprised on social media when voiceover talent get a really cool job and they post it and they post who they got it from.
Yeah, don't do that.
A lot of them do. It's crazy. You'll say, thanks to so-and-so production, blah, blah, blah.
And Jonathan's going to swoop in there, curate that lead. And
that's exactly right. And so is everybody else. And
of course.
You just did a huge disservice to the person who trusted you with that work.
Exactly.
So it's those are the things to avoid. I think don't be shy about putting yourself out there is the number one. There are a million marketing ideas out there. And I mean, you've got local markets, you have local dealerships, they place ads all the time. if you're buying and leasing cars from, like, I've got this Cadillac dealership here, man, I bet you I've gotten 12 cars from them. And I'm talking to them all the time about getting their radio work.
You don't want to miss what's next. Making Waves returns momentarily.
This is Katie Lee, and you've got the best VO podcast in all of the land right here. The Making Waves VO podcast with Kevin and Bobby. Enjoy.
Full Compass is your one-stop destination for cutting-edge audio, video, and lighting solutions. With nearly 50 years of industry expertise, we offer a vast selection of high-quality equipment, from microphones, recording interfaces, and software, to audio accessories, monitors, headphones, and other pieces to help you find your ideal sound. Our trained product experts are here to help every step of the way with unmatched customer service. You'll also get free same-day shipping, flexible financing options, and a low price guarantee. Visit us online at fullcompass.com or call 800-356-5844 today.
Now back to the podcast. Kevin's probably doing it.
Yeah, you probably are.
Are you in Chicago, by the way?
No, I'm in Southeast Michigan.
Okay, all right. I heard Upper Midwest, so...
OH. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm fighting all of my Canadian accent right now. So.
Oh, do you have Canadian roots?
I'm actually dual citizen. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Very cool. That's probably what I was hearing then. I thought it was a little Chicago, but maybe it's that Canadian slipping in there just a little bit. Jonathon Grant, this has been an amazing pleasure, and I do want to get, and we're gonna get all the contact info and folks in how they can reach you in just a minute. But man, we share these nightmare session stories because it's cathartic in a way, really. We all go through these sessions. Maybe they couldn't have gone much worse. Would you please share with us a nightmare session story?
Nightmare Sessions.
Yeah, actually, I have a funny one. It turns out that this nightmare story was my first VO job ever.
Whoa.
And my first VO job ever turned out to be a directed session.
Nice.
And
That's high stakes, man.
Yeah, and it was a radio spot for a large regional bank. It came through one of the platforms. I think Voice 123 is where this one came from. But anyhow, a large ad agency had hired a small production house out of Tampa to cast this job. And they cast me. So in the directed session, there was the large ad agency. There were 3 people from the small local production house, and there were 5 people from the bank. From the bank marketing department. My first job ever, in voiceover that I was ever cast for was in a directed session where I was doing the recording. And I integrated a VoIP system into my workstation here. So I was calling in, recording on this side, but running everything through loopback. I could do playback for them. I thought I was super cool. But then I went to call them for the session, and my VoIP provider had blocked their number as a robocaller.
Oh, no.
So I end up... Obviously, I'm a little freaked out already because it's my first job in a directed session, and now I can't connect with them. So, and you don't call them 15 minutes before just to make sure. So,
oh no.
So then I end up on a speakerphone on my phone because I have headphones on listening to direction, and I'm doing my work, and these guys are on the speakerphone on my cell phone on my desk. So that's nerve-wracking, and then I'm kind of doing like a frank intake and keeping track, of what they like with times on a notepad, and without fail, all 9 people in the call had something to say.
Of course they did.
So
Oy vey.
So I thought I blew it. I mean, it took me, I was so nervous in the beginning, I couldn't even swallow, because it was like, I don't know if you've ever been that uptight. And then, it occurred to me, wait a minute, these guys are on my team. They already like me. They hired me. I'm in the booth. My success is their success. And I settled down, right? So I reminded myself of all that. At the end of this, so that's like a nightmare. I thought I blew it. I thought, man, they're never going to hire me again. At the end of the session, the marketing director from the bank came on and said, to the production house, it's very important that Jonathon be the voice of our business line for the next 18 months.
Wow.
And we met once a quarter and laid down 6 spots. The same crowd, by the way.
But that's fantastic.
Yeah, and it turned out great. But that was a nightmare that actually turned out well. But man, you can imagine the ball of nerves that I was at the beginning of that.
Yeah, it's total baptism by fire. I mean, wow. I'm sure your first job. It's crazy.
Yep. So, and there's my story.
I love it. I love it.
Hey, do you think that in your program that you could do some kind of incentive if they heard about you on Making Waves, Jonathon?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, what we'll do is if I'm going to give you guys a code. It's called Making Waves. One word.
Hey, that's perfect.
Okay. So there's no E's in that.
Making WAVs.
Yeah, making WAVs. And if folks use that when they register at either platform and they subscribe to one of our services, we will give them 25 extra leads in their first month of their subscription.
Woohoo!
Dude, thanks so much. And they can go to legitvoices.com. Is that it?
Well, I would suggest that they go to voinbox.com.
Oh, okay.
Voices is the corporation.
Okay, so voinbox.com?
Right, or voleads.com. So just to be clear, VO Leads is the self-service. You have to do the digging and the emailing. VO Inbox is full service. We source the leads and we send all the mail for you.
That's fantastic. Well, thanks so much for your time, man. This has been eye-opening, and it kind of, I don't know about Bobby, but it kind of fires me up to do a little marketing and, getting in the trenches and mixing it up with y'all.
Yeah, man, get out there.
Oh, yeah, I'm loving it so far.
Oh, thanks so much, man. Enjoyed having you on.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jonathon.
Well, there it is. It is reason to get fired up for marketing. Once again, Bobby, it's the bane of our existence in the voiceover world, but we need to do it.
Yeah, it's funny because when we were talking about templates, we have to write something, and he told us what his was. It was very simple, but it was probably very effective. And I thought, how can I be creative? And so I got down to basics of my life and how it led to voiceover and how I excel in voiceover. And I said something about, if you're looking for a voice to stand out, take it from someone who is the middle child of 9 kids. I know how to get attention. So maybe it's getting me clicks. I don't know.
That's awesome. Well, another fun, successful podcast, the Making Waves VO podcast, presented by Full Compass, fullcompass.com.
We know VO.
Let's do it again soon, Bobby.
Let's do it.
The Making Waves VO podcast is produced by K2 Media Productions with hosts Kevin Kilpatrick and Bobby Maxwell. Sound design and editing by Jason Traver. Production assistance by Lacey Deline. Publicity and social media by Shannon Scott and Silas Phillips. Be sure to subscribe to the Making Waves VO podcast on your favorite platform. For all episodes, merchandise, gear, and more, visit makingwavesvo.com. Until next time, I'm AJ McKay. Keep making waves.